Teaching sexual health in schools. Let's get sexy. There's a lot that goes into teaching sexual health in schools, and the aim of this video is to inform you on the different types of sex education that are offered and why it's important. I'll use research from educational texts, scholarly articles, websites, parent conversations, and conversations with school officials. So why talk about it? Well, sexual health is important for understanding our bodies, creating positive sexual encounters and relationships, decreasing behavioral issues, and protection against sexually transmitted infections, sexual abuse, and unplanned pregnancies. So there's a lot that goes into something like this. What is sexual health? Sexual health, or sex ed, includes a lot of different components. The functions and workings of sexual encounters, human sexuality and identity, romantic and sexual relationships, the reproduction process, contraception options, and the health and safety factors of practicing sex. How is it taught? Well, there are two main types of sex ed programs and a bunch of options that come with it. There's abstinence only, which has an emphasis on abstinence and no sex until marriage. It also usually leaves out contraception options, has little talk of types of sex and basic information on the scientific functions of sex, and puts a heavy emphasis on the wrongness of sex before marriage. And while it's the most widely used, it's often thought of as the most ineffective. Comprehensive sex education sets clear scientific terms on sex and reproduction. It includes contraception options, but it does emphasize that abstinence is the only 100% sure method. It also includes sex as a normal, healthy part of life, and includes a variety of different types of sex. And it's proven to be effective, but is not widely implemented. There's also the opt-in or opt-out options. In opt-in, parents are offered the choice to enter their child in sex ed, and they must sign a release to engage in before instruction can take place. In opt-out, parents are offered the choice to take students out of mainstream class during sex ed. Parents assume all the responsibility for student knowledge on the concepts, and it's offered before instruction, which means the slip is to be signed if students are to be taken out. There are lots of roadblocks that can come with this, the least of which is parent concerns. When I talked to parents, the different concerns that came up were religious or spiritual clashes. They felt that they knew that their child best, and that oftentimes they thought sex education was starting too early, and they believed that it's inappropriate for anyone but themselves to talk to their children about this topic, which is why there's a heavy emphasis on the opt-in and opt-out programs. But is this really a solution? There were also concerns from schools. There's funding available for abstinence and HIV/AIDS prevention, but not usually for comprehensive sex education. Schools also have to balance parent rights, and there's no federal regulation of mandated sexual health education, which means these decisions are left up to the state and then to individual schools. When we get down to individual schools, there's usually not a lot of resources and time left for something like sex ed. There are some other harms and misconceptions. There's a lack of understanding of what sex is and the different types of sex. There's an increased rate of pregnancy, STI, and sexual abuse. There's no medically accurate terminology, and that leads to misunderstanding, and it leads to unhealthy relationships. When we're not teaching proper sex ed, we give children information that's inaccurate and sometimes downright wrong. So where are they getting their information if not at school? They're getting it from social media, the internet, older siblings and friends, television, and trusted adults. A lot can go wrong, and there are some real dangers of misinformation. There was a story from the Stewards of Children where a young girl had told her teacher that the other night her dad had eaten her cookie, but what her teacher didn't know is that her dad and her called her vagina her cookie. And when you get into things like that, the sad fact is 1 in 10 children will be sexually abused before they turn 18. For a variety of different reasons. Sometimes it's not having the correct words for what their body parts are. It might be not knowing that their mouth is a private part too. They might not even know what sex is or how to say no. So it's important to make sure that we are giving children all of the tools that they need to protect themselves. We tell children all the time, your body is your own. You get to make the decisions about what happens to it. But is that the truth when we don't give them the information that they need? The important thing is that we move forward and figure out how we can be successful. Sexual health should get taught earlier, and it should include all medically accurate information and terms. It should provide contraception information and disease prevention information, and it should be taught as a part of a healthy lifestyle and relationship. Masturbation should also be included as a healthy way of discovering sexuality. And we should inform children that there is good non-sexual touch, and that's okay. Comprehensive sex education is the way to go, because when it comes down to it, yes means yes. We have a right to know about our bodies, so let's make it factual. Let's make sure our children and our students feel safe, informed, and loved.